On the day of the funeral, my mother kicked me out of the house, and I moved in with a stranger man and a child. Then, a convoy of luxury vehicles arrived, and the city's richest man was crying uncontrollably as he said, "Sonny, Grandpa is here to take you home." As night fell, the sky was covered with dark clouds. Dad used to say that people become stars after they die, but at that moment, the sky was starless. "Little girl, we're closing soon," the cemetery security guard reminded me. I glanced one last time at Dad's grave before heading home in a daze. Inside, the room was lit up, filled with smoke and the sound of ambiguous music. My mom was in a sexy nightgown, her bosom half exposed, dancing with a middle-aged man with a confused mind. As the music reached a climax, they kissed each other. Sitting at the table was a boy in a school uniform eating and playing on the computer, which was mine. I stood frozen in place. My mom saw me, felt a bit awkward, but quickly recovered and introduced me. "Sonny, this is your Uncle Jack and your brother Alex." The middle-aged man gave a greasy smile, and the boy had some resemblance to my mom. "Mom," I gritted my teeth and said slowly, "today is Dad's funeral." Mom took my hand gently, saying, "Sonny, Jack is Mom's first love, and Alex is my child. You're grown up now, and I should have my own life." I couldn't believe it. My mom was justifying her extramarital affair so boldly. I was furious and blurted out, "Homewrecker, bastard." Suddenly, a slap came across my face. My mom's gentle facade shattered. "Sonny, don't disgrace yourself." Jack spat harshly. "Why are you blabbering so much?" He sneered at me, pointing to the box in the corner. "Your stuff is all packed, now get out." Alex snickered. "The computer was bought by my mom, so it's mine now." My left cheek burned. My mom never hit me when Dad was around. I took a deep breath, then charged over and threw the computer out the door. "It's mine. Why should I give it to you?" Alex was weak and fell over easily. Mom rushed to help him up, glaring at me. "How could you treat your brother like this?" "Brother? Does Dad know? I never had this brother." I mocked mercilessly. Jack pushed me to the ground, grabbed my hair, and pressed me down. "You little bitch, I'm sparing your face. Your dad's dead, your mom abandoned you, what are you so happy about?" He exerted force, and I couldn't break free, tasting blood in my mouth. This was my dad's house. His fat face was full of arrogance. "Your mom is the first heiress. Even if you want to fight, you'll have to go through lawsuits. Can a high school senior afford a lawyer? No. So poor." Mom remained expressionless, seemingly indifferent, like a vital point had been hit. I fell silent, stopped struggling. I picked up the box and stood alone at the gate of the neighborhood. Mom chased after me. "Wait." At that moment, I held on to a glimmer of hope. But quickly, hope was shattered. Her gaze turned cold, as if looking at an enemy. "I've raised you for over a decade. Spend $3,000 on me each month as a compensation for your brother's expenses. Whether you sell yourself or entertain, it's what you owe me." These were words spoken by a mother to her daughter. I asked, "Aren't I your child?" Mom kindly touched Alex's head, looking at me with a sneer. "You useless thing, do I have to rely on you when I'm old? Useless, might as well be dead. And be with someone else in the future." I felt a coldness pierce through me. Mom added, "Don't come bothering me, just transfer the money to the bank. Jack does big business, having someone see you pay back isn't good for him." I froze. In her eyes, I was an embarrassment. I bitterly laughed. "For the big boss, these $3,000 matter?" I was instantly exposed. Mom's dignity couldn't hold up. She scolded loudly, "You know nothing. Business has been bad the past 2 years. Don't look for excuses not to pay back." For a long time, I smiled bitterly. "Fine, it's all yours. Everything's yours." Alex smirked and flipped me off as he turned away. "We have no relationship from now on, you're not my mom." I screamed loudly. She didn't look back, but she definitely heard. Standing under the night sky, I felt a loneliness I had never experienced. I looked at the home I had lived in for over a decade, now feeling it strange. The thought of that jerk, occupying my room, using my things made me sick. I ran back to the door with all my might. Cigarette smoke was coming from inside, the door was slightly ajar. What I heard next inside the room made me tremble uncontrollably. "Darling, this house is worth at least $500,000, I love you so much. I've endured a lot for you these years. I understand. If that poor guy wasn't introduced to invest in my project, I would probably have gone bankrupt long ago. That poor guy has late-stage cancer, stop treatment. I had to persuade him to give up treatment for the money to put his daughter through college. Before he gave up with that money, I can start over again. Come here, give me a kiss." My heart seemed to skip a beat, a wave of blood washed over my mind. 2 years ago, Dad invested in some financial products, all gone in less than 3 months. Dad's temples were white, eyes sunk at that time. Half a month ago, Dad asked me to come to his bedside and told me with a smile to get into a good college. It was the first time I had seen Dad cry. As his smile faded away, tears streamed down his face. I kicked the door open with all my might, shouting wildly, "Bastards! I'm going to kill you." This unexpected outburst startled them. They stood there dumbfounded. Jack quickly reacted, kicked me straight in the ribs, and it felt like an electric shock. I crawled on the ground, shaking from the intense pain. I had never hated my weakness so much. Jack spat on me, "You're crazy." He stepped on my neck, making it hard for me to breathe. I looked hopefully at my mom, but she only protected her sweetheart, fearing my outburst again. Maybe she truly didn't love me. "What are you guys doing?" The security guard in the neighborhood sensed something amiss from the hallway surveillance and rushed over. Jack told the guard that I trespassed their residence, and the guard seemed to recognize me, my shadow everywhere in this neighborhood. However, seeing my mother's determination, the security guard ultimately chose to remain silent. Sitting at the entrance of the community, the security guard handed me a cup of warm water. "Take a break, little girl, go back and apologize. In a family, there's nothing that can't be resolved, right?" I shook my head, some things can't be settled like this. The security guard sighed and fell silent. Carrying my suitcase, I continued to move forward in the pitch-dark night. Suddenly, a glaring light flashed accompanied by wild rumbling. A convoy of dozens of luxury cars arrived. The door of the leading Rolls-Royce opened, and an old man got out, holding me in his arms, crying, "Granddaughter, Grandpa is here to take you home." The old man said he was my grandfather. However, my father had told us when we were young that our grandfather had passed away. Even my mother believed that our grandfather was deceased. He furrowed his brows. "Your dad is really stubborn. After his mother passed away, he left home and no longer recognized me as his father. Since then, there has been no contact." At this point, my grandfather's eyes dimmed. I was on a business trip abroad at the time. I didn't have the chance to see his mother one last time. I remained alert and asked, "How did you find me?" "Your father sent me a message." He handed me a phone. Indeed, it was from my father, saying that he had forgiven grandfather. He had late-stage liver cancer, and hoped that after his passing, grandfather could take care of us. This pair of motherless children. The message was sent a day ago. Looking at these, my eyes couldn't help but turn red. Even in his last moments, my father was still thinking of us, whereas that selfish woman. "Sweetheart, where's your mother?" Grandfather asked. I shook my head. She ran off with another man. Grandfather frowned, anger flaring. I tightly held grandfather's hand. "Grandpa, let's go see Dad." Grandfather's expression softened instantly, his eyes filled with sadness. He instructed the driver, who nodded slightly. "Why do you walk so painfully? Do you have back pain?" Grandfather asked with concern. "I'm fine, Grandpa." That night, we quietly arrived at the cemetery, where grandfather and Dad talked all night. Grandfather seemed to have a lot to say. There were smiles, there were tears. Unconsciously, dawn had broken. Grandfather took me back to his home. No, it was also my home. It was a 2,000-acre estate, situated on a small hill. Even the cleaning ladies numbered over 50. The house was large, but I felt very lonely. Since grandmother's passing, grandfather had not remarried, and he only had one son, my father. All these years, he had been alone. In the morning, I had breakfast with grandfather. Good granddaughter, senior year is an important period. I plan to send you to the best school, what do you think? I paused, shaking my head. No, Grandpa, the current school is fine. Alex, his school uniform is the same as ours. I'm not willing to leave quietly. Grandfather frowned. Your school ranks around 50 in the country. Grandpa, I want to stay here. It won't affect my grades. I've always had good grades, top 3 in my year. Grandfather stared at me, sighing. Is it because of your mother? No. I stubbornly replied. Grandfather took out a stack of documents and placed them on the table. Sonny, your temperament is exactly like your father's. I had Sam investigate. Honestly, I can't swallow this anymore. Sam, is grandfather's driver finishing his sentence? Grandfather's face turned red. He rubbed his head vigorously, took 2 pills to stabilize himself. Grandpa, what's wrong with you? It's nothing, old people get high blood pressure, can't stand stimulation, headache intensely. I was somewhat worried, took a deep breath, and slowly said, Grandpa, as long as you support me, leave this matter to me, I can handle it. Grandfather was stunned. He pondered for a long time. Sonny, have you made up your mind? I nodded firmly. Not bad for my granddaughter, good. Taking a sip of tea, grandfather took out a black card from the drawer. There isn't much on the card, just 1 billion. If it's not enough, tell grandfather. In addition, let Sam follow you, I'll be at ease too. You can rest assured to do it. I can't bear this anger. Everything grandfather will have your back. Monday. Our school, a private middle school, is renowned for elite aristocratic education. Back then, my father, under my mother's pressure, sent me here to study, and I didn't disappoint, ranking at the top. Many parents here are accompanied by luxury cars. And so, our custom-made Land Rover was still eye-catching. Sam drove me to school. I said, Sam, you don't have to see me off, just go about your business. Sam nodded, straight into the main entrance. Objective, the principal's office. At this moment, I saw Alex, his expression strange. He tucked his phone into his pocket, smirked, and walked away. After class, my classmates whispered and pointed at me. Boys eyed me up and down, seemingly discussing. The girls whispered among themselves, their gazes filled with disgust. My best friend ran over discreetly. Sonny, something's wrong. Look at the school group chat. I opened the group chat, all filled with a single image. It showed Sam opening the car door for me, as I got out of the car. The words were Bloody Sonny sells herself, kept by a tycoon. I clenched my fists, walked out of the classroom immediately, heading for the 4th floor freshman classrooms. Alex was sitting on a desk, a lewd smile on his face. Let me tell you, the top 3 student in our senior year, Sonny, is a slut. After the rich second generation got out of the car, he even walked around her. You don't know how provocative she looked. I walked straight towards the bastard, kicking him directly in the crotch. A pig-like scream echoed. Alex's face turned red, veins in his neck bulging, crouched on the ground clutching his groin. I picked up a chair and directly smashed it towards his head without hesitation. Many people might have been deceived by movies. Under intense pain, there's no resistance. Alex watched the chair descending. Fear suddenly spread across his face, shouting, You can't kill me? You can't. I shifted the direction of the chair, throwing it aside. Killing someone is wrong. With this one chair, I really feared I might kill this bastard. Jack's face was pale, with a strong smell of urine. He wet himself in the office. Sonny, do you know what you are doing? The teacher said with a cold face. Jack's face turned livid, twisted with a cruel expression. Teacher, expel this bitch. Expel her. The teacher glared at him and told me, Sonny, apologize to Alex, and this will all be over. He slandered me and now wants me to apologize. I laughed. Teacher, didn't you get a transfer of 30,000 yuan from Jack in June? Do you need to explain that? The teacher cursed me, warning me about slander. The teacher was thrown out like a ball, and Sam walked in, pulling out a dagger from his waist and asking me softly, "Sonny, kill or not kill?" He used to be in a special forces unit, a habit that stuck with him all these years. I quickly replied, "Keep a steady hand." Then the principal entered. The teacher looked at the principal like a savior, crying and saying, "They want to kill someone." The principal looked at the teacher coldly. "You're expelled." Alex woke up from his faint, laughing hysterically. "You little bitch, hurry up and go to the club, I'll have you serve me every day." I stared at him as if he was insane. The principal glanced at Jack's pants, red and yellow, still smelly, and asked, "What grade and class are you in?" Alex, thinking he would be commended, hastily said, "I'm in Jack's class in the 10th grade. You're expelled too." As expected, Mom and Jack came to school causing a commotion. "Sonny, are you even human? How can you be like this as a sister?" Mom scolded me, not hesitating to slap me. Sam grabbed Mom's wrist like a pair of pliers, pushing her to the ground, saying, "If you move, I'll kill you." His cold-blooded demeanor gave me chills. Jack sneered, "I heard Sonny works at the club." Sam drew his dagger from his waist and raised it. Jack was lucky to trip just as the blade grazed past his skin. He broke out in cold sweat. "Are you serious?" The principal, hearing the noise, opened the door. Mom shouted, "Principal, someone in your school is trying to kill someone." The principal remained silent and closed the door. From the sounds outside, it seemed like they had locked it from the outside. Mom panicked, "You'll all go to jail. My son is still in the hospital, disabled, you'll all pay for this." I chuckled, "So, I choose to settle this privately." Mom wanted to say more, but Jack spoke first, 500,000, and this whole thing is settled. Sam took out a chest of money and placed it on the table. 100, no more. Jack's eyes reddened at the sight of the money. 1 million? I handed over an agreement, settled, for 100 yuan. Mom's face turned red with anger. "Looks like you found yourself a rich man to lean on. If it's not 1 million, we're going to the police." I closed the chest and smirked. "Then we'll see you in court, we can sue each other. Let's see how far you can stretch that 100 million. They turned pale. "You despicable people." Sam, with a cold gaze, whispered, "Sonny, unintentional manslaughter carries a sentence of 3 to 7 years. I can handle that." Jack, feeling numb, signed the settlement agreement for 100 yuan and dragged Mom out. As they struggled to open the door, I reminded, "You push it out." Sam added, "Our company and your school started a university project last year, still need more personnel." The principal expressed gratitude for the information. Grandpa's company covers real estate, finance, education, and technology, always looking for collaborations. Our school was eager to establish connections with such a giant. "Sonny, we've investigated Jack's background." Sam handed over a stack of papers. Jack, 46 years old, middle school graduate, worked as a laborer for 3 years, then joined a pyramid scheme. He met Mom online. Their relationship was ambiguous. They had a child who was aborted later. They accidentally had Alex. I was 2 years old when Dad was on a year-long business trip to Africa. I hated being too young back then, unable to remember clearly, leading Dad to what he was now. It was also the year the pyramid scheme Jack was involved in got busted by the police. Jack was arrested, and Alex was cared for by his grandmother. Things happened suddenly, and they lost touch with Mom. After Jack was released, he worked as a contractor. 3 years ago, he returned here and reconnected with Mom. Jack had been selling materials, passing off subpar goods as high-quality ones. He was almost caught 2 years ago but allegedly used money to switch the materials overnight. Everything had a trail. Mom's attitude towards me changed 3 years ago, becoming less patient and often scolding me. Though she would apologize tearfully later. I thought I was disappointing Mom, but now I know I was wrong. In her eyes, a girl was never as good as a boy. She always made me cut my hair short, never allowing me to wear dresses. The few dresses I owned were birthday gifts from Dad. I was like Alex's shadow in her eyes, her son's shadow. 2 years ago, they deceived Dad for that money used to buy construction materials. Dad really isn't worth it. Through gritted teeth, I asked, Sam, has all the paperwork for the newly registered construction materials company been completed? It's all ready, Sam replied. Alex went to the hospital and then transferred to the neighboring school. For several days in a row, I noticed Jack lurking near the school gate, casting resentful glances my way. That day, I didn't let Sam pick me up. I walked home alone with my backpack. Sure enough, Alex was following me from behind. With a slight smirk, I turned into an alleyway. In the darkness, Sam held a bloodied knife and said, Miss, the legs have been removed. Alex, hiding in the corner, got nervous and made a noise. I saw him recording a video on his phone. Good. He tried to run but didn't get far before Sam threw him into the alley. Holding a bowl, I looked down at him. I bet you've been wetting your shoes these past few days, haven't you? Still seeing traces of blood? Thanks to Mom raising me as a boy since I was little, or else I probably wouldn't be able to say these things. Upon hearing that, Alex blushed beet red and lost control, charging towards me. You are. 2 minutes later, Alex was tied up tightly, his phone almost falling out, so I pushed it back in. He was panting heavily. Completely exhausted. I took out an electric baton and zapped him directly. Like shaking people up, right? Come on, keep shaking. Alex's eyes rolled back, and he passed out cold. I woke him up by splashing him with a bowl of blood. With a start, he wasn't fully conscious when I hit him again. Lasted 2 seconds longer than the last time. He shook me a few times, so I shocked him a few times. Finding it boring, I placed the bowl I was holding on the ground. Alex shuddered and a nauseating yellow liquid flowed out. You guys are murderers. You'll be executed. Floating in the bowl was an eyeball. Finally, under my deliberate design, Jack finally fled. He was caught twice to make it look authentic. Watching his sorry figure, I couldn't help but sigh. So young, yet still have frequent accidents? Jack, there's an urgent sale of top-grade steel bars on the market. The factory has issues with the molds, so these bars don't have the grade marked on them. Are you interested? What's the price? It's 30% cheaper than top-grade steel bars. If you buy them all at once, you get a 50% discount, Jack exclaimed excitedly upon considering the total quantity, realizing a profit of over 8 million. With such a large quantity, when can you get them? Feeling a feverish excitement, Jack suddenly remembered something and played a video on his phone. It showed Sam and me holding a bloodied knife. Then another call came in. Jack found out that the girl named Sunny is indeed being kept by a sugar daddy who's into international trade. Whispering to himself, Jack vowed, Son, they messed with you. I won't let them get away with it. Mom and Jack found me and tossed a USB drive onto the table. If you don't want to go to jail, pay up. Feigning calmness, I inserted the USB drive and watched the video, feigning shock. Where did you get this? It's impossible. Jack grabbed my hair, threatening, 5 million, or this video will show up at the police station tomorrow. $5 million, how could I possibly have that much? My face turned pale, eyes clouded with despair. Mom coldly smirked, don't think we don't know. Your sugar daddy is a big boss in international trade. I sat down, realizing he couldn't give me 5 million. He's not going to give me 5 million, but you can. Confused, Jack asked, what do you mean? He won't give me 5 million, but you can leverage my relationship to borrow from him. He doesn't have to know about the video, I explained. After a brief discussion, they agreed. Soon, a contract was drawn up, and they both signed it. I covered my face, pretending to cry, when in reality, I was struggling not to burst into laughter. Before long, I transferred 5 million to Jack's account. In less than a month, Jack labeled the batch of top-grade steel bars as 4th grade and sold them on the market at a 20% discount compared to market value. They were all sold out in less than a week. During those days, through Mom's social media accounts, I learned how they lived extravagantly. Money spent quickly. At the luxury car dealership, Jack with his crocodile skin bag and cigar looked like a nouveau riche. Mom bought the latest model of a phone, posing in front of a Mercedes-Benz. Alex, wearing a heavy iron chain, his hair in dirty braids, bragged, "Dad, with this car, I can find 3 wives for you in 2 days." Jack chuckled, "Good boy, living up to my standards." Mom teased, "Looks like Alex wants me to have grandchildren in a few days. I'll talk to your useless sister to buy you a flat in the city center." Alex insisted, "Mom, make her give me another $1 million as a dowry for my future wife." "All right, listening to my precious son," said Mom, petting Alex's head affectionately, with a hint of malice in her eyes. "Sonny really turned the tables last time, torturing Alex like that. She should spit up at least 10 million. I smiled as I walked towards them. Seeing me, Mom's face darkened. "Why are you here? Buying a car for your sugar daddy?" Before I could respond, several officers arrived. They were immediately restrained by the police. "After a thorough investigation based on the tip-off, you are suspected of illegal activities. Come with us." "Sir, there must be a misunderstanding, a misunderstanding." Jack shouted. The police picked up a stack of documents. "Not only did you sell building materials, but you also used substandard grade A rebar." Jack turned pale. At that moment, he realized the truth. "It must be that little bitch. Do you have anything else to say?" the police asked sternly. "Quickly confess everything." Jack remained silent for a long time, then twisted into a manic smile. "That little bitch, you won't let me off, don't even think about it." His expression became agitated. "Police officer, I have an important criminal case to confess, a murder case. Sonny killed someone. Right in the alley at 7th Avenue. 2 hours later, the police officer looked at Jack with a strange expression. "We can't handle this matter." "Can't handle it?" Jack felt like a cat with its tail stepped on. "Did you take a bribe? You're telling me you can't handle a murder case?" "Jack, I warn you, insulting a police officer constitutes an offense." The police officer remained cold-faced. "If someone kills a pig, should we intervene? The place you mentioned, at the alley entrance, is actually a slaughterhouse. We checked the surveillance footage. On that day, Sonny bought 2 front legs and a pig's head." Jack felt as if all the bones in his body had been shattered. His eyes were vacant, and he slumped down. How was that possible? When the verdict was announced, Jack was fined a huge sum. He not only lost all the money he earned but also had all the property under his and his wife's name mortgaged and sold off. The house bought by his father before was naturally sold off too. "I bought it. I've packed your things, now, get out." Sitting on the sofa, I coldly watched this family of scoundrels. My mother's face turned pale. "You ungrateful bitch, you forgot your roots." My expression was calm. I would never conspire with another man to take my husband's property. I wouldn't have children with another man. I wouldn't be on another man's bed when my husband works hard for the family, and I wouldn't favor sons over daughters. So, who's the bitch? My mother's face turned pale, then red. She couldn't show shame on her face, only regret. Maybe she regrets not killing me earlier. Alex, that bastard, opened his mouth, but seeing me pulling out a stun gun from my bag, he dared not speak. Jack's face muscles twitched. Before he could finish his sentence, Sam kicked him out, sending him flying 2 to 3 meters away. I casually said, "You owe 5 million, not a penny less. Oh, by the way, I bought this house for 70,000, but according to the court ruling, half of it was mine originally, so remember to give me back 35,000. My mother pointed at me, unable to speak for a while, fearing Sam would hit her. I thought for a moment and added, "Those rebars were bought from me by you, you know that. The compensation must be paid. I heard that you also have to pay a fine worth 150% of the rebar value." Great. They stumbled, almost falling. I waved my hand, and Sam directly kicked them out. Wishing you a long life, or else I'm afraid you won't be able to repay your debts. I handed the black card back to my grandfather, and he praised me for a while. Not only did I not spend a dime, but with the compensation, I made a profit of around 200,000. The next day, my grandfather held a press conference and proudly announced my existence as the sole heir to the conglomerate. A disheveled woman was causing a scene at the mansion entrance. It turned out to be my mother. She smiled flatteringly at me. "Sonny, your grandfather is the richest man, why didn't you say it earlier?" "Mom, you knew I was wrong. I'm sorry for your father, sorry for you. I hope you forgive me." She knelt on the ground, tears streaming down. I felt no trace of emotion. There's no remorse in this world. Seeing my indifference, she rolled up her sleeves and cried, "That bastard Jack is a beast, he abuses me every day. Look at me, my body is covered in bruises." "Your father never hit you, not even a harsh word," I replied. My mother was full of regret. "I was wrong. I will make up for the regret I had for him, in you." I shook my head, my eyes cold. "Unfortunately, we can't go back. You're the one who pushed father and me away." My mother sat on the ground, crying loudly. "I'm your real mother, how could you?" "Mom, I've grown up, should have my own life." I smiled and said, "Mom, if you disappear from my life, I'll be better off. So, why not do it?" Even a moment longer with her made me sick. In my mother's regretful gaze, I turned without hesitation and walked away. A year later, Jack and my mother divorced. When they met again, it was at a worksite. One was carrying bricks, the other mixing cement, already repaid 12,000 of the debt, but still owe millions. The future looked bright. Alex dropped out of school and went to work in a coastal factory, earning 3,000 a month. However, he still behaved irresponsibly. I saw him in the news once. It seemed he broke his leg jumping from the second floor after refusing to pay for sleeping with a prostitute. He was also reported by the technician and detained for over 10 days. I wonder if he's cured of his frequent urination problem. As for me, I got into the top university in the country and was about to start my college life. In the woods, the cicadas chirped cheerfully, and fireflies danced among the leaves. Suddenly, the wind picked up. The dark clouds that covered the sky dispersed. And I saw the stars.